Try harder. Just try harder, bro. The OSCP in 2021, is it still worth it? Is it still relevant? Is there still a reason to go out and get it? We're going to be covering that and a bit more in this video. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Cyber. Now, a lot of, the viewers, if you're watching my channel, you probably have an interest in, getting into the field of security. Maybe you're already here. You want to elevate your skills. You're in the right place. That is exactly the type of content that we cover on this channel. Now, with a lot of you guys, if you were been in the space for a time, or maybe you're new to it, you probably have heard of the OSCP, and I certainly make a lot of videos covering this because so many people are interested in it. Now, with that interest, or maybe passing interest, you're not sure if you want to dip your toes in it, go for it or not. You might be a bit on the fence, and you might wonder, is this OSCP certification still relevant in 2021? And what is with this, try harder mentality? Is it, how does it hold up, right? It's a fair question, most certainly. What I would say for sure is, you got to understand, even when, before they did the update of it last year in 2020, the OSCP, as a certification, right, there's a lot of things that, like, hurdles they have to go through, right? They have to set up an environment, and they got to, field test it. They got to make sure that everything is running smoothly. And they got to, I'm sure there's all kinds of, regulatory things they got to do just to, keep it up and running. Maybe not regulatory, might not be the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, they have to go through a whole system and a process to get this stuff stood up and make sure that, it's the proper level of difficulty and all that stuff. My point being is that with all this time, it kind of suffers from, certifications, they kind of suffer from the same issue that, the school system does, right? By the time you go through all these hurdles, versus how fast the IT space moves, how fast technology moves, vulnerabilities, new ones are discovered, there's no way they're ever going to be able to be on the cutting edge, right? Or be completely up to date on the most modern vulnerabilities and stuff that you're seeing out there in the wild. But the thing is, that's not really what the OSCP is about. That's not really what the courses are about, these certifications, right? The thing about the OSCP that a lot of people like is, the fact that it is hands-on. A lot of these certifications are just, study some book material and take a, your traditional exam, right? But the OSCP is hands-on. The exam is hacking systems. So props to them for that. But really one of the best things that you can learn from the OSCP is the mentality, the idea behind it. Because I've said this the other day on my This Week in Security video, but really what you'll start to notice as you plug yourself into this space for longer periods of time, as you read new news articles about various attacks that have happened, one thing you'll notice is that there's a methodology to this. There is a kind of A through Z kind of mindset approach that these attackers have. They follow a similar methodology, right? When it comes to, starting off with doing some very passive research on your target, starting to go more active with your recon and just enumerate as much stuff as possible. And then you launch your attack. Maybe that's a phishing campaign. Maybe that's a 0-day attack, targeted attack on your victim, right? Whatever it is, right? There's a kind of methodology, and that is something that OSCP does a very good job of teaching you, right? They have a lab guide that will walk you through the different sort of steps in a pen test, and they'll put you to the test with it. They'll get you hands-on practice doing it. And that methodology is timeless, right? It doesn't matter what the latest and greatest vulnerability is. And that is really the core of what you're getting, I would say. And also now onto the whole try harder part, right? The way I like to view it, and some people, they really get, it's kind of salt to the wound, because the way they say it is almost like kind of in your face, a little bit abrasive sounding. just try harder. And, like when you're struggling on a box for hour after hour and you look at the whole try harder moniker, you might kind of piss you off a little bit. I feel like that's why, I think that's why I get some flack, right? And it's almost kind of smug how they say it. But really, what I would say, the way I interpret it is just show up, right? Just show up. One thing that you'll learn if you have ever done martial arts, I'm a bit of a martial arts guy myself. Have you ever done anything like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example? If you talk to any of the guys that are in the higher belts, like your black belts, brown belts, purple belts, even blue belts, the biggest piece of advice that they would pretty much universally agree on is if you want to move up, if you want to improve in jiu-jitsu, you just need to show up consistently. Just consistently show up, consistently put in the work, consistently practice, and you pretty much guaranteed you will get there. There's no certainties in life, I suppose, but that's about as certain as it gets. That is, just showing up is 80% of the battle. That's one thing you have to understand. Whenever you see people that fail at stuff, right? Really, they were their biggest obstacle, right? Yeah, they definitely hit some challenges, some roadblocks on their journey, but the reason they failed wasn't because they hit those roadblocks. Everyone hits those roadblocks. The reason they failed was because they gave up, they quit, they stopped showing up. So if you take that kind of mentality, and you can see how this applies across disciplines, right? We're going through that series on mastery by Robert Greene. That was something he already touched on, is in the introductory chapter. People look for the shortcuts, right? They look for the magic pills. They look for for any way to avoid these roadblocks, right? Any way to not only succeed, but do so easily. And there's nothing wrong with trying to be efficient with what you're doing, but you got to understand that more importantly than being efficient and super optimized in your approach is to actually just show up. If you can become a person that consistently shows up day in and day out when you need to, you're going to be a lot more successful than pretty much all your peers when you look around the room, because most people are not willing to take this simple step, right? And it can be difficult sometimes. Like when you're struggling, and it can be like really unfun to show up. There's going to be times where you don't want to, right? There's going to be times where you don't want to do this, but that is the kind of mindset that OSCP is very good at teaching you. So because of those things, I would say that it is extremely relevant, more than ever, in 2021, where everything is sort of on demand. Everything is at a press of a button, right? You got Uber Eats, you got Amazon, you got Netflix, you got everything in comfort and at the press of a button. But when it comes to mastering skills, as we learned in Mastery already, it's not about taking the easy path. There's no way around the fact that you're going to have to take the difficult path. So I think that's why, people struggle in today's day and age more than ever when it comes to actually having to go through that hardship, put in the hard work, and really get to where you want to go. Because that's how it's always going to be with the toughest skills. That's why they're hard, right? That's why they're valued in the marketplace, because most people don't have these skills, because most people weren't willing to put in this level of effort. So in those regards, OSCP extremely relevant in 2021. Now, with that being said, do you necessarily need to get this certification just based off of that? Well, no, there's other ways you can, acquire these skills as well. It really depends, I would say, where you're at in your career, right? Are you in security already? Or are you trying to get into security? Do you see the value from the employment standpoint? Like, would you be able to get like a way higher salary, or maybe better working conditions, like a fully remote job, or the amount of vacation days you want, et cetera, et cetera? What are you looking for out of your next job, and how can the OSCP help you to be able to negotiate that? That's what you need to look at. It's just another It's just another piece to the puzzle for you, right? It's just a tool. Certifications are just a tool, right? You really need to sit down and ask yourself, what do you want out of your next job, or maybe your current job, right? Maybe you can get a raise or whatever, right? Or get a new employment benefit, right? That the biggest question is not, should I get OSCP kind of at face value? It's like, what can it do for me, right? View it as a tool. And that can really help decide if it's relevant for you, right? Because just because it's relevant doesn't necessarily mean it's relevant for you. Understand, when you take this on, it's going to be a massive undertaking. It's going to require a lot of time out of your days. And are you willing to make that commitment? Is it worth it for you? Not just are you willing to make that commitment. Is it worth it for you to make that commitment? And that's something that I can't answer for you. It really depends on you, right? On where you're at, what you want. So, yeah, always take into account what you want above all else, of course, with this stuff. And because, yeah, I would say definitely there's a lot of benefits for it. And but I mean, even if you find that it's not really too relevant for you, you can still acquire these skills. Like I mentioned with the martial arts, just training like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any martial art, really, that really drives home this try harder mentality, if you will, this just show up mentality. Anything that you undergo that's really difficult, any difficult skill that you acquire can kind of teach you this, right? And so, and then as far as the methodology side that we talked about earlier, you can learn that, if you're really new and you don't want to undertake the OSCP, that's fine. You can still learn the pen tester's methodology by, doing CTFs and like reading walkthroughs, maybe watching other people take on various, pen testing challenges or CTFs or whatever, right? Maybe on this channel, you maybe watch some of my old content to see how I approach some of these boxes, even in a live scenario. So there's a lot of ways that you can still acquire these skills. But if you are looking to get a certification and you see a benefit in it, then OSCP is more relevant now, I would say, than ever before. So I hope this video was of help to you guys. If so, definitely be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. And hopefully this video can get out to someone that might be on the fence about OSCP, someone that might need to really understand these concepts. And I will see you guys in the next video.